Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Think About It channel. Today we're doing another episode of Rejuvenate, and our special guest is Anthony Johnson. He's an emotional intelligence coach based in Collingswood, New Jersey. He's written 2 children's books. One is entitled I Think, I Feel, It Becomes Real, and the other is called I Think, I Feel, My Emotions Are Real. Anthony also hosts a podcast called Connected Life, where he talks about how to strengthen relationships, improve health, and build finances. And to top it all off, because that wasn't enough, right? To top it all off, he has a single on Spotify called You Are, which is the letter U and the letter R, I Am. Anthony, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. I am well.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah.
That was nice. That was nice.
That was a nice intro. Thank you.
I do my best. You know, I try to do my homework before we hop on here and do this.
Okay.
And you have a lot of cool things going on, and that's what we're here to do. Talk about them today. So, can you share just some of your personal background with us?
God, how personal do you want me to get?
As personal as you want to. I mean, I don't know if families watch this or not, or if anybody watches this or not, but
Okay, well, we'll keep it rated G, just in case. All right. Well, the thing that got me to where I am with all this crazy stuff that I'm doing is emotional intelligence. So, an okay childhood, let's leave it there, and some crazy relationships where I was like, why do I feel so sad? Why do I feel so lonely? Why do I want to leave? And then I'd leave, and then I'd go to another relationship, and it'd kind of be like, this feels like the last one. Why do I want to leave? Why do I feel so lonely? So that kind of put me on the path of emotional intelligence and what's going on with me and why do I feel this way, so that I could kind of feel better. So that included taking attachment style quizzes and all these different things, Enneagram and personality, and figuring out that there was this abandonment wound. So once I got over that and started feeling better, I was like, there must be millions of people out there that are going through the same crap. So that's that's what we do now. We're like, I want to help. Mm-hmm. So that's what got me on that. And I think the biggest thing about that was you could teach children this, and how awesome would that be? So that they could kind of navigate the emotions and the feelings on their own, so that they didn't have to wait till they're old people like me and be like, oh, I gotta fix myself. So that's what directed me to the children's books.
That's awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about the services you offer as an emotional intelligence coach?
Yes, I do some contracting for companies on LinkedIn, so kind of smaller, 50 to 100 employees. And then I also do relationships. I had a men's group because when doing coaching, I realized when you coach men and women together as a couple, men say nothing and women say everything. And I was like, okay. But I kind of understood that because I knew a lot of guys tend to be avoidant. A lot of girls tend to be anxious. Not everyone. So then I would talk to the guys separately, and they would say well, this and that, and she and I and we. And I'm like, why don't you say this when we're all on the call? So that prompted me to be like, oh, well, maybe guys kind of need their own space. They will talk a lot easier if their spouse is not there. So I started a men's group on Meetup, and now I'm going to start a package. I have a 2-week program for couples that's kind of high level. This will get you to the point where you understand what you're going through and why. And then I have a 12-week program that tells you what you're going through, why, and then how to get out of it. And now I'm going to offer something that's called a 6-pack that's only for men, because men will not come with the women and talk. So it's kind of women go through the thing all by themselves, or the guys are there just. I actually had a guy tell me, I'm only doing it because she wants me to. So I figured, all right, let's try something new here and build a program that's only for men and see how that goes.
That's really cool.
So the 6-pack is actually 6 weeks. but I figured guys would like the term six pack because that's what we all want, right? Six pack.
At this stage of my life, I would settle for like a 2-pack.
I know. Just give me a pack right now.
Or just like a full night's sleep.
Oh yeah, that works, right?
I'm setting the bar super low for myself.
Feel good, look good.
That's half the battle, right?
Exactly.
So you mentioned a minute ago about some of the inspiration for writing the books is that you've taken a lot of the skills and a lot of the things you've learned over not only your life but your career as a emotional intelligence coach, and now you're like, hey, why can't we apply that to kids? Right. So can you tell us a little bit about each of the books, sort of like what the synopsis is, the age ranges, that kind of thing?
Yes, both of the books are kind of 6 to 9, but children, like everyone else, are exceptions. So I have one lady that's like, well, my kid read your book already and she's only 3. Okay, maybe you have a gifted child there. But typically, I think it's kind of like 6-ish to 9-ish. But there are some kids that are 3 and 4 that are reading it. And it's basically, I think, and I feel, and it becomes real, is kind of like imagination. So you're using your imagination to think about things and then see things in your mind, and then they show up in your reality. So it's kind of like, have you heard of The Secret?
I have not.
It's kind of like law of attraction, gotcha. Manifestation stuff.
Putting it out into the universe.
Right. And once I started doing all of this stuff and feeling like, oh my God, it really does work. It would be really nice if kids knew that, because then, you wouldn't have kids that turned into teenagers and said, I don't have enough money to buy a car, because then they would go into their mind and be able to work some magic. It's kind of like, I think there are a lot of teachers that teach the same concept, but just in a different way. Like Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches it, Neville Goddard teaches it, Abraham Hicks teaches it. So it's kind of like all of those people that I pulled lessons from and basically put that in a book so that a kid could understand it by looking at the pictures. And the other one is for emotions, kind of like helping them express when they're angry, like what kinds of things make you angry and what kinds of things make you sad. And it's okay to be sad, it's okay to be angry, it's okay to express it. And then they have like a little diagram with little faces, and they can determine if it's a sad face or if it's a lonely face, and kind of relate to being okay with their emotions instead of doing what I did, which was repress, suppress, and I don't want to cry, I don't want to look sad, I don't want to be unhappy. So kind of like little guides for them as little kids.
That's great. And I know that's something we try to do with our kids here at home is have them be emotionally intelligent. And my 4-year-old's getting pretty good at it, which I'm super happy with.
Okay. That's a good age. Yeah.
Mom and I are very intentional about pointing like that kind of thing out, and he's getting a lot better at like recognizing his emotions and having strategies when he's upset to navigate, that and things like that. So it's been good. It's been good. Definitely parents out there, try to teach the emotional intelligence as soon as you can.
Yeah, especially for guys. Like I always say, everyone's different because every parent's different, but there are a lot of parents that it's like, girls, you can show your emotions. Little boys, we don't show our so yeah, it's kind of a good thing to make sure that regardless of sex, gender, they are able to express their emotions freely and be supported.
Do you find it difficult because there's, as we get further and further along, there's more research, more papers, more studies into emotional intelligence than there was 10, 20, 30 years ago. Do you find it challenging sort of taking all that information you do, all that research you do as a coach, and simplifying it into something like a children's book and like simplifying it for a client? Or do you feel like that comes pretty naturally to you?
At this point, it's pretty natural. I guess 6 years of reading, watching YouTube, listening to audiobooks, almost 7 days a week. That's a lot of information. So it's really easy now for me to, now that I understand myself, it's really easy for me to understand what's going on with other people, a lot more so than it was before I knew what was going on with me. When I didn't know what was going on with me, I didn't really know what was going on with other people. But typically when I sit down with a couple, in a few minutes I can kind of be like, oh, okay, I understand like the dynamic is here, and I also understand why you're attracted to one another, and also why you have differences that you're kind of stuck on.
Mm-hmm. So I asked that question to lead into the next question, which is about your podcast. And I've seen a few episodes of your podcast, and one of the things I really like about it is it feels very down to earth. It feels very practical. I think a lot of times you can like watch sort of like emotional intelligence stuff and like self-help stuff and like relationship stuff, and it can feel a little bit preachy, and it can feel a little, almost at times even a little condescending. But your stuff just feels like I'm going to my friend for good advice.
Oh, that's
So
good.
can you share some of the things you cover in your podcast? What and how long your podcast has been going, things like that. Can you talk a little bit about it?
Sure. The podcast has been out, I think, since September of 24. It originally started, I think, in January of 24, and it was focused on chronic pain, because I found out that my chronic pain was caused by my emotions. And then I wanted to take like a different route and coach couples versus coaching one-on-one for chronic pain. So it was a mix of both things, and now it's more directed to relationships and attachment style. And the small piece of it that's related to manifestation is manifesting the relationship or the wealth and the health, because they're all, when you're looking for one or both or all three, you kind of get to them by using the same techniques, by not always being in your head with all the crazy stuff, but thinking and being intuitive and intentional about what you're thinking about, so that you kind of get what you want more so out of life. Think about what you want versus what you don't want. It seems like we always focus on what we don't want.
I hear that.
Yeah.
I hear that. And it's funny. I'm a teacher. I used to teach high school. I now teach middle school. And I remember teaching high school, asking like juniors and seniors, like, well, what do you think you want to do when you graduate or whatever? And they would be like, oh, I don't really know. And then I would say, well, what do you not want to do? And let's work backwards from there.
Right.
And they could tell me 15, 20 things they didn't want to do. So
Right.
I could totally tell, like, sometimes it's easier to focus on things you don't versus the things you do.
Exactly.
Be,
Or what can I remove? Is it like in relationships? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Like, what can you not do? What can you stop doing so that you're actually doing less? Yeah, it's a good technique.
Between your coaching and your podcasting and your authoring of books, you somehow found time to write and produce a song on Spotify.
It wasn't easy. Parts of it were easy. The getting it all together so that it was actually a song that could go on Spotify, that was a little more difficult. So I have software. I won't name it.
We're not sponsored here, so you know.
Right? Are you getting paid for this software? So I had the software to create the music. So like sound pieces, like, oh, I want this to sound like EDM, and I want this beat, and I want this bass. And I kept hearing all these things that I really liked. But once I got, like say 50 of those, I couldn't figure out how to get them all together into one thing. So it's a bunch of random sounds that sound good individually, but then I had to hire someone to put them together into one song. And then they just basically took my voice, I recorded my vocals, and then they kind of like overlaid my voice on top of that music that I kind of built together in the software.
You laid the framework, they just tied the knots.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, it's catchy. It's very catchy.
Like they did a little edit thing to make it, I guess there's the echo part to the URIM part. So yeah, editing, nice. Makes you sound better.
And it's definitely like its own EDM thing. It's definitely very catchy. And I remember the first time I listened to it, it gave me like Snoop Dogg affirmation song vibes. Have you heard that? The Snoop Dogg affirmation song?
I have not.
Oh, you got some homework now.
Huh. Snoop Dogg affirmation.
Snoop Dogg has like an affirmation song for like little kids, and your song's sort of like it's definitely like your song's a more mature sound, but like the sentiment and sort of purpose behind it, like it gave me like that feeling, like, oh yeah, this is like a different genre version of that, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, affirmations are kind of like I say these things over and over and over, like, to get me in a different state of mind. So it's kind of similar, remembering the I am, like I am strong versus I am weak, and then keep focusing on that affirmation of I am strong. So that was the purpose of the song, kind of to go along with manifestation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you right now could offer one piece of life advice or guidance to anybody watching that's made it to this point, that maybe needs to find growth or improvement or anything that they need, what's sort of one piece of good general advice you could give to someone?
One, self-understanding will be the key. So self-development will include self-understanding, because once I understood me, life got so much easier. It was easy for me to understand what I want, what I don't want, why. And then once I knew that, I could just easily say yes, no, maybe, versus not understanding why I didn't want to say yes or didn't want to say no, but always did, to kind of accommodate those people. So understanding yourself, I would say, is probably the key to get all the things you want in life and do it kind of like peacefully, because you're emotionally stable.
Not the easiest task in the world.
It is not. And I think there's so many levels, right? You could be a 1 on the emotional scale, or you could be a 10. So it's a struggle for people that are in the lower numbers, but it's still possible. I feel like I was probably somewhere in the middle. So if I can do it,
yeah,
you can do it too.
I joke a lot about, like, man, they must have forgot the manual when I was born. How to navigate all this stuff.
Yeah. Once you get it, though, it all kind of, it falls into place. It all makes sense. So
where can people learn more about you and what you do online? If people have been interested in maybe pursuing the podcast or hearing the song or learning more about your services, where can they do that?
YouTube, I guess, is probably the easiest. The YouTube channel is at Your Connected Life. The podcast is Your Connected Life. Or is it Connected Life? Connected Life. I got rid of Instagram. URIM is on Spotify. The podcast is on Spotify, Google, and Apple. And I think that's everything. Amazon's tricky, because I don't know if you know this, but there are a lot of Anthony Johnsons out there.
There are.
Anthony Johnson, you're like, oh.
But I do have a link for you specifically as Anthony Johnson. I'll be sure to throw that in the description.
Okay, that's
Do you
great.
have like a personal website?
The personal website is anthony-johnson.com.
Okay. We'll throw that down there too.
Thank you.
Anthony, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you for having me on, and thank you for that great intro, and thank you for having really good questions. That's an important thing in one of these interviews.
I try, and you're a man doing a lot of interesting stuff, and you have a lot of cool insight. And like I said earlier, like just watching a lot of your stuff, it's just like talking to a regular guy. It's like talking to your buddy. So I was super intrigued and super happy to see that you wanted to come on and share about what you're doing.
All right.
You're doing great stuff.
Great. Sounds good. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.